Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I'm going to try and figure out what to do with this Seiju elm. It's not obvious, and I wish I had some other knowledge around to help me do this.
Excuse me? Is this Steve's backyard?
Yes, who's that?
Hey! Well, here.
Look who's here. It's
Look at that.
Dave.
I made it! I brought my tools. What are we going to do today, Steve?
Well, I was just ruminating about this tree and not knowing where to start with it. It's a Seiju elm. And thank you for coming in to help me.
Well,
I was just hoping that
this heat
would.
almost kept me away from here. I don't think it's been below 90 since I left Minnesota, but I think we're going to barrel through this. So tell me about the tree a little bit.
All right, so I picked this up on the internet because someone said, ooh, you should try a Seiju elm. The leaves are so tiny. And they are right. These are beautiful, tiny leaves. And even when it grows up this way, you know how a regular elm will get the big leaves?
Right.
These stay small.
Yeah, beautiful.
But I'm not getting the branching where I want it. But I see something like this where there actually is some branching started. And that's where I cut it to try and get these to grow. Mm-hmm. And all I got was the one coming out the end. So
this one slowed down and this one shot up, and so now this one is.
Well, this one wasn't even there.
Okay.
When I trimmed that, so
gotcha.
I don't know really how this is going to react. I mean, things like in here, I'll clean out the inside here so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And these leaves are tiny.
Yeah, they really are. That's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal tree.
But where do you start? What do? You follow a branch up, right?
You know, I find the challenge with all of my elms. I have a couple of Chinese and I have a couple of Zelkovas, the Japanese variety. And they grow so fast. Does this variety also, is this rapid growth? You've already pruned it once this year?
Yeah, I pruned it once. Yeah. And, this is what I get.
I think it always seems to me we're under the whatever the tree gives us type mode. Right. And it'll shoot up a whole bunch of nice growth, and I'm like, well, but that branch isn't even near where I need it, or it's growing really weird inside, so you end up cutting them back. But now when you have a branch that you want, so if you really want this branch here, are these elms like any other tree when they tell us to just let this guy go out so this thickens up down here? And what's nice about this tree that I'm seeing up close, and again, these tiny leaves, but look at the inner nodes. Yeah. So we don't have to worry about inner nodes. So we just let it go, right? So if you really want that branch to grow, do we just leave it alone?
I don't know. This branch is it the right thickness, but it's way too long. And really what my brain is telling me is to cut it right there. Right here.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's where we start.
I think that's a good branch to start on. It's your main primary branch at the moment. You've got some lower ones that either are going to thicken up the trunk or you'll decide to keep eventually. But let's cut that back.
I'm going to cut it back to here because I do have some leaf scars there, and they may
put out that new growth next year. Yeah.
Here we go. You're going to get some cuttings to take home with you.
Oh, I love that. Look at that. That's a big cutting. Fantastic. Got a fan for this hot weather too, built right in.
It is so hot today.
Yeah, it is.
All right, here's a branch that's growing toward the inside of the tree.
That guy right there. Yep.
This one.
Yep.
And it's the largest one of this grouping, but I'm taking it off.
But we don't like the path it's growing on, so I agree, right? We talk all the time about straight up branches, straight down branches, and one's growing into the trunk.
Even this one.
Yeah. Yeah, because the stronger ones are out here. We got more of that. I love when Nigel talks about the flow of the tree.
Exactly.
Right? And so that's not doing a flow for us, so we'll get rid of that one as well.
That's two branches.
There we go. Right. And look back here. It's going to grow. It's going to shoot out more growth, if not this year, next year, and it's just going to get all of that.
So I'm going to take this little stuff out. But this is a very funny section of the tree.
When we look at something like that too, we have to make a big decision there. So we're talking about this branch right now, and what if this doesn't even stay, right?
Right.
Yeah, we have to contemplate that at some point. Because from my angle, it's reverse taper.
Yeah. If I cut it here, I don't have much tree left.
And then your tree is down to very, very little.
But it's very healthy in this pot, and I fully expect it to back bud and do whatever it has to do.
Do what it has to do. So I would encourage that we make this tree look, well, and here's the trick, right? If we make this tree look good with that on and then decide to take it off, and then we really will have nothing left if we make too many cuts. So we have to think about this. I'm going to spin it over here just a little bit. Yeah, such a beautiful, it kind of swoops back a little bit, then comes right at us, and then curves this. So we got front to back and left to right movement. So a beautiful trunk.
Let's check out the other side.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful,
beautiful
curve
it's
here.
Nice texture and movement.
It's not showing where I have it, but if you put it where it is showing, there isn't that much going on up here.
Up top, yeah.
And certainly if I take that off, this is all gone. Yeah, definitely reverse taper every way you look at that.
And it's not even as bad from this angle, actually, oddly enough. But that's where in a tree, if that's not your front.
And I chickened out of cutting it here when I pruned it last time.
And what was your thinking back then?
That this would bush out over here, and you wouldn't see that bad. And I'm wondering if I take it down a little bit and let this all.
Yeah, I mean, what if you actually cut the 2 strong branches off but leave the whole thing, because you've got all of this and this and this? That'll slow down because the energy in your tree is, I mean, look at this branch. So the energy is just making this swell even more right now. So if we don't do something today, that's going to be even bigger next year, right?
Yep.
And it got its branches down here. We can choose which one we like, but it's still thick enough where, gosh, do we make that bold move?
So
and even this guy back here, if that survives, if this survives, there's 2 here, but even this back here, you got to curve up here, and who knows?
So the move would be to cut it right here?
I think I would be that bold to go right down there, yeah.
Now, let me get a little saw.
You get a saw. I'm going to look at this angle from here. Show everybody here if we're going to go this way or this way. Yeah, so some decisions to be made, for sure.
This little tiny saw.
Oh, look at that. So, and this is hard for a lot of people in bonsai to even fathom at a workshop, let's say, or even with this tree. We know this is big and thick and probably not as attractive as we'd like, but can this guy right there, I mean,
Could that become my future?
Is that the future of this tree? Because now you have a curve that comes this way, and now goes back up this way, and it's already trying to go straight up, and then you have the wave, and then you have hopefully your foliage and apex up top.
Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't regret a decision like this.
We're not cutting the whole thing off, but let's cut it off above this branch and below the thick one. I think that's your cut point.
Like here?
I think right in there below where it's gonna bulge, and then we're gonna cut away. I'm gonna hold so we don't. One of the hard things when you cut a tree is like
not to hit other branches.
And then if you just were to yank this thing right out of the pot, now you're going to get a branch on my side eventually that we have to be careful not to destroy that branch, but we'll get there. We just have to have the right angle.
All right, I'm not seeing that.
This right here, when you get to the very end, and that last swoop.
Oh, I thought you meant the branch.
No, this guy down here.
Okay.
When you cut through that final cut,
don't push.
If you go too hard, too fast, I've gone and damaged the next branch behind it.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
And so long as I'm holding the trunk real nice and sturdy for Steve, this is where that extra set of hands is priceless. So if you're
well, I've never had an assistant.
Well,
before.
there
This
you
is
go.
wonderful.
If you have a workshop, if you have a club you're a part of, and you trust someone to work on your trees with, sometimes some of these moves, because right now he's cranking on this tree pretty good. It's a sharp saw, but he's about halfway through, and if I wasn't holding down at the base, we might be just stressing this tree out a little bit too much. We could destroy some roots possibly.
Come from the other side now.
And so we can get this by making sure we're working together on this, and that just makes a big difference. I think you could keep going for a little while longer.
The saw with these little teeth, it gets clogged pretty easily.
Yeah. Especially on a live tree, and of course if you're doing this through a pine, then you got sap to deal with, and it gets really ugly. And that's where, when these saws get cut, if I'm not holding down while we crank on your end, that makes it even harder.
And if you don't have the angle exactly right.
Right, there you go.
It's a pull saw too, so
it's cutting on the way back, right?
Yeah.
Not towards me. So that's, yeah. I've got a bigger one that would create a little bit too big for this tree, but boy, is it nice to have. There, we're getting through. We're over halfway through now, pushing 2/3, and this will be the final part now when he gets through it. I just want to make sure we don't hit that back branch, and I think we'll be fine. And if that last part isn't as clean as we would desire, we of course have our concave cutter. We have our ability to kind of clean up.
Well, I got my new little
oh, you've got the new
cutter.
knob cutter even to get that down to size where we need it.
I needed a knob cutter like Nigel's, so I got one.
There you go. Yeah, I've got one too, and Steve and I were talking about this. You got to have the right size of some of these tools, because now the smaller one, we can get into more nooks and crannies. Okay, this is close.
I'm feeling it.
This is a big one. This is a big change, and that's some big growth up there. This tree was so apically dominant up there with those two new branches, which was creating some of that, you know, reverse taper and swell in there. There's that knuckle we talk about, even with only two branches, and actually there's three coming from that spot. We always try to go to twos, and there we go.
Wow.
And we didn't cut over there. I was holding the tree there, and okay, look at what we just did to this tree. Look at that.
Holy mackerel.
That is
You know what? That was the move. That was definitely the move.
are you okay with that? You feeling
Yeah.
you feeling like we didn't do? I think so too.
I'm gonna get some tight bond glue on this,
Yeah.
just to make sure.
Nice. So that just, you know, this part of the tree is still a little thicker in general, but if we can hide that, disguise that, we have other branches that are going to thicken up, that'll help change over time.
And if it starts to grow more in this direction, I've got a lot of growth that's headed that way.
Excellent. Yeah. You got back here, you've got right there, down lower, and then if this all thickens up too, the eye will be taken away from this if we have other branches on the design.
I'm not loving that this is a ladder branch to that.
Yeah.
It kind of mirrors it, but I think I can carve a little bit away from
Yeah,
here
I think you
eventually,
could.
but
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not gonna do
after that dies
yet.
back, you'll be able to do some carving for sure. All right.
Let me go get some glue.
Yeah. Yeah, so we just took off really almost 2/3 of the tree. So we had this main one right here and these two here. So that's a 1 going to 3. This was where all the energy was, and we were getting a swell down here, making this section real thick. So we took that off. Drastic decision, but to support this. I mean, if he didn't like this decision, he could also do what he was thinking last time and cut the whole branch off, and you still have all this movement, and this becomes the tree. But if this works and we get some nice, this bifurcation, this spreading, this back budding, this has the energy now. If he doesn't touch this, this will make this one a little bit thicker. But then we run the risk of having two branches that are the same thickness, and which one is the apex. And so he's just gonna have to kind of tread lightly there for a while and see what he wants to do. So there we go. We got some protection on there.
Tight bond wood glue.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been using this. I was using a rubber cement type thing, but it was
Sure.
it was not like what Nigel uses. It
Yeah.
was a shoe glue.
A shoe glue. All right.
Putting shoes back together.
But this is working well for you? Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Good. Yeah, we don't have to spend on the big stuff all the time.
Okay. Next move on this tree.
All right.
It's got to be up here, right?
Yeah. Because again, if we run the risk, if we let this thing shoot out, that this is going to thicken up so much, we'll have 2 clumps up top. So we want to continue all the back budding and branches down lower, but not going out of control there. So what are you thinking?
Right here.
Yeah, I like this. And I even like that down there, but it's almost a little too horizontal that way. So, but yeah, these two. So take that down to there, and then you've got this on the left side.
Let's see. Is this too thick for this tool?
Well, don't bend that and get a new one like I needed to, right? Yeah, and so we have to be careful. I don't know if people can see this. So this is kind of growing on what was an inside of a curve almost, but that could become the new curve if this is gone someday, but this might be a better branch.
I think it is a better branch.
It probably is, and they're crisscrossing. Look at that. We have a crisscross branch, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that either. So
this branch is a goner.
yeah, it's fighting it too much, and we just opened up the design, and now again it's flowing a lot better. Now, when you look at it from the front, Steve, what goes right to your mind next, and what do you want to do? Because we just moved this back tree down in size. So now, what do you think you might do with that thing?
Well, I've got this big cluster here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm staring at. What do we do?
This
with
one's coming back to the tree, but it's got a little branchette off of it.
It does already. Yeah, coming back over here towards me. So, boom. So now, if we keep that, it goes up. It's got zigzag. It's got movement.
This is way too long, and I was looking to see if there were any little branches happening here, and they don't happen until
Way
the
up
end.
there.
And I think that's too far.
So let's encourage that by cutting back further, right?
Well, here's where this one is really good. I can cut this one back.
Yep, because there's the split off right there. There we go. Yeah, so it's just that big guy that maybe doesn't even need to be there. Or just much lower, and we see what happens.
Like here? Because I got that branch there.
I would cut it, above this branch for now, and cut above it. There we go. And then now these two are fighting. So how much shorter do you cut this and this to make them grow in a different direction? And you got so much.
And this.
We've got in that one. We've got so much back here too. If these don't survive, we've got all this for the future. So and again, these grow, I would assume, similar to a Chinese elm, Zelkovus. It's going to shoot up. We're going to shoot up a lot more of these. So yeah, we'll trim those 3 down. All 4 of those actually can be trimmed down. Now it's just how far we go.
This has a leaf going that way. Yeah. So I'm going to trim it there.
Directional pruning.
Yeah. This one does have little branches, 2 little branches here, so I'm going to go one above that.
Beautiful.
And that's a nice little cluster there.
Yeah, that is. That's almost a pad forming right there in the tree.
This one's growing back, but I like the...
I would leave it for now.
Yeah.
I think I would leave it for now. We just have to figure out how short to cut these.
Why don't you figure that out?
All right. Well, none of them have any branching starting, so we're going to try to balance this top out. So I mean, at least down to here I would go.
Yep.
And then do you leave this one longer or keep it shorter? If it's longer, you can see it. If it's shorter, you can't, and then they're fighting for each other. What would you do?
Well, I think I would trim it here and hope that it continues to curve around this way.
Yeah, and again, later on, if you ever move any branches and helping the guide or the directionality of that leaf in that direction helps us out, we're in good shape. So what a difference.
I'm going to zoom in on the tree a little bit more.
Yeah.
Big difference.
That is a big difference.
So the question is, do I let these just extend or try to get them to start to branch out earlier? This one has a couple of branches already, but I was unsuccessful. You can't really see it, but there's my last pruning.
Yeah.
Right there, there's the stub. And these didn't take off.
They didn't.
But it's because this one did.
My first gut instinct tells me to have that more of a sacrificial and leave it alone for the rest of this growing season,
just
to thicken this up. And somewhere in here, and again, I think this is a challenge for all of us in bonsai. We like this bifurcation up here, but if we really are serious about bifurcation an inch or more from the stem, we want the branch to start way back here. So if we let this go, thicken this up, and then we cut it back here, we might get some more bifurcation, not here, but here, which is where we want it for the future. So I think this would thicken this up. Now the fear, of course, is thicken these up. This is, I think, a choice you have to make. If you leave this to thicken up this branch, will that not also thicken up this portion of this really thick already existing tree? But we have to get branches.
So, remember the vigor that was here.
Was way up top. Yeah.
So I'm hoping I get some more backbutting down closer.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd kind of leave this one alone this time. That would be what I would do, just to see if we can thicken that branch up, because then that gives us an every other kind of pattern, right? We've got some over here, some over here. We got this one up here, but then this over here, back over there. We're kind of filling out this tree in multiple ways.
This one, I don't think is serving a purpose. It's not low enough down to be there to thicken up this trunk.
Yeah.
And it's not vigorous enough.
Yeah. And these are on the inside of curves. So what do? This one's right at the latter part of the curve. If something took there and got thick, that would be a beautiful spot for a tree. And is this one too low? Yeah.
And these gone?
I would take those off. I would take the top one off for sure. Maybe leave the bottom one and just take the top one off for right now. So then we have the decision, like, we're going to keep that there. And sometimes, again, we talk about, okay, we don't like branches on the inside of a curve, but always, every tree, maybe we don't worry about it right now.
Right.
Maybe we see if you do cut this one off and we cut that one off, maybe those two will take off, and we'll decide later which one you want to keep.
Going to leave them both.
There you go.
And this one is a little starter of some sort.
And hopefully it hangs in there. It might even just crumple away and die. Who knows?
Okay. This one comes out at I'm going to quote Nigel, at a funny angle.
Good quote. Funny angle.
But I like the way this comes off of here, which is why I was thinking, why didn't we cut it to here? A little further down.
And the question for me on a cut like that is that's so hidden in the back, and it's a great for texture on the tree. For if this is the front of the tree and this shows off a branch better. So we just see if that works, and if it doesn't, go back there. But yeah, you're right. We could have cut it down to that branch because it's growing up in a really nice spot. It's right at the curve.
And there's two branches coming almost from the same spot. So which one of those would I choose?
This isn't the apex of your tree, so I would take the one pointing straight up off over the one that's more horizontal, because as our friend Nigel would also say too, our trees are out wide in the bottom, and they go higher when they get up, and so this is more high on the tree, but is it this high to be straight up in the air, right? So this is almost too high. That one right there, is that the one you're talking about? Which is that one's what you were considering for the cut point, but I think I would take that one off.
This guy.
The top one of the two. That's what I think I would do.
I got to close in on this so people can see the size of these leaves.
Yeah, compared to your fingernails there in your hands. And look at that. Just stunning size.
Love it.
Yeah. And that allows this to do whatever we need it to do. Maybe it starts going this way. Maybe the bifurcation fills up. Yeah, that to me in the back, that's going to be a better branch. Yeah, I like that.
Unfortunately, it's got two little branches that are going in this
direction. Yeah. So next year, do you cut the thickest one of those two off and encourage more to the right?
Yeah. It's funny here too. You got more going in one direction.
More going that direction, yeah.
And here. But I think this one should be shorter. I don't like the angle that it's coming out of at all.
Yeah, it is a tough angle. And that's one of those decisions too, where if you cut it back, will something start to grow more up towards the sun? And that's the hope, right?
Or will it just die?
Or will it just die off, yeah. With our major cut.
I've said this a lot. We just took an ugly tree and made it uglier.
Patience. We need the patience for the future of the tree.
Right.
And we're just
a
little
little crowded
in
here. I'm going to take this little guy off right here.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. And see, people are not going to see this at home, I don't think, but look at how tight that ramification is right there in the split close. That's what we're hoping for, right? Yeah. When we talk about some of that stuff, right? That's just phenomenally close. And so we know the tree will do that and can do that. And if you want taper, you go from thick to thin, a little bit thinner here and thinner. This is like almost all the same size here. How long does he let this one go? Well, we just made it thinner here, so you don't have to make that decision today, but it's also the same thickness from my scissors point almost all the way to there. But there's movement, and there's younger branches, so then we do have taper in the tips. You want to shorten that, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I would. Again, it's going to grow and shoot out more stuff, and it's got a very heavy tip, so it's going to send things back. And then we have
there's a little bud right on this side.
Yeah. There we go.
What you were saying about this being a straight shot.
Yeah.
And no taper. It's a little worrisome.
And then the only thing else I would think about with all that is when you look under this tree branch here now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, it kind of in a line here. And there's the little ones back here you can't see, and back here. This is the main branch right now, so you can leave that alone. But do you keep all three of those long term? We don't have to do anything today with it, but maybe you said it was thick up here?
Yeah.
Would one of those three need to go someday too? And I'll just show people, because if they can see this at home too, if I were to decide between this one and this branch right now for the better branch, this one bifurcates right here and it has movement already, and this one's just a curve this way, and then it gets long out here. So that one has a really nice look to it. I don't know what to do with those.
I like that it curves and goes in this direction, but it's far too long. I would want to shorten that. But to where? And that's right here.
Sure. Remember, you can't put branches on, but you can always take more off, right?
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's got two little branches.
Two going that way, and you hope this will continue to go out this way, and you'll be in good shape.
But it's a new species for me. I don't know what it really does. There's 3 branches here.
Yeah. Now this one splits here, and this one doesn't come till up here, but it makes it look like 1, 2, 3 in a row. That's what I was from underneath. I was showing the 4 in a row, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But then these 3 are boom, boom, boom.
But they do come out at fan angles.
Yep, they do. Yep. I don't. It's too young to worry about that. I think it's fine, and we'll see what happens in the coming year.
So again, what do I do with this guy?
My thought is, do you for sure cut to this, right? So you have this branch going over here, and either save that or you cut all the way down. And again, look, this one's even trying to shoot out. Look at that, right? Are they trying to shoot out second branching there,
definitely.
and even down there? So if you cut off to at least there, that's minimum what I would cut off.
All right.
And then you just have to decide if you want to, and that keeps both directions alive, keeps the movement there. This is a long section, so you're hoping things are going to come back here eventually anyway.
Well,
but now it balanced the tree a whole lot more.
but this angle.
Mm-hmm.
Why do trees do that?
Why did that branch do that compared to, could have been a little bit more straight and up? Huh.
I could pull it over.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to do it this year because it's so
Right.
small, so you could do that in the future for sure.
You know, part of me still is saying
Cut that branch off.
to take this off,
The whole thing.
the whole thing. Because if you're talking about the inverse taper, this
Yeah.
is where you're seeing it.
This is
right
where you
here.
see it. No, that is. So is that a decision you go for it and be bold today, or you wait till next year to see if any of this work we did today fills things up to make it go, oh, maybe things will catch up and thicken up and it won't be so bad?
Thanks for making me more indecisive.
Well,
than I
you
was
know,
already.
that's what I'm here for. I drove 1,700 miles to make you more indecisive.
All right, what do you think about this? If I took this off, right to that knuckle.
I would promote that, to cut it off.
Yeah?
Yeah, you lose that lack of taper. You're going to stimulate everything down below it. This is a thick branch that we like at the moment. So I mean, I would bring that one back. Yeah.
We're doing it.
There we go. Didn't take a lot of arm twisting on that one. There we go.
I think that's better.
Yeah. Yep. That thins that all out. Now we have all of this to choose from still. So that's just fine.
All right, so this is what we talk about when we say bonsai is a long-term project.
Yeah. You know, you can't have an overnight or 24-hour bonsai or a workshop bonsai, and it can look pretty good, but you got to take some risks like this and make some big cuts. And you know, this is the only sacrificial branch we left on it. We wouldn't have to. We could cut it in half still, and it'd probably be just fine because it's going to probably shoot out a couple months worth of growth. So if you want at home to have a tree that looks a little bit more, compact all the way around, don't worry about that sacrificial. And as I worried before, Steve didn't think so, but if you leave that long, is it going to thicken this up even more? So we want more ramification than trying to thicken up a tree right now because this is already so thick. We want this stuff to catch up. So
I'm taking it to here.
yeah, there you go. And just that alone makes us look like, hey, that's a lot less like, hey, what are you doing with that branch? Now, sometimes we need to do that.
All right, I think we've...
Is this where we say put the scissors down?
Put the scissors
Put
down.
the pruning shears down. We need to be done with this tree. And then I might leave, everybody. I might leave tomorrow morning and he's going to cut this thing right off. I don't know.
I don't think I'll do it this year, but I want to think about that because if you're talking about taper,
Yeah.
this is where to get it,
Yep.
but not today.
Not today.
All right, let me give it a little spin around. This is the front as we see it today. A little skinny side, but it is growing front to back. Here's the back, which could be a front someday. You think about that with that branch cut off.
Yeah. It'll change the tree. You'll have to rethink of how you plant that for sure.
And back to the proposed front. All right. Collaboration number 1.
Number 1 done.